Welcome to a video from thedigitallife.com. In this video I'm going to look back at Windows 8 and see whether it really deserves this reputation it has as being a bad operating system or a misstep from Microsoft compared to Windows 7. I think Windows Vista suffered of the same things from XP, so many people skipped Windows 8 and went straight to Windows 10. So I'm going to look at what was new in Windows 8 and why Windows 10 is what it is today, because it was built on top of Windows 8. But anyway, I'm going to have a look at Windows 8 and see if it was all that bad. First thing I'm doing, I've got a virtual machine set up here and I'm going to log in, and the things you could do on this was name your PC when you first set it up, and that was something that you still can't do in Windows 10. It automatically names it for you, you don't get a choice, and you've got a little bit of personalization settings on there, so I'll go ahead and do that. I'll use the Express settings. And the first thing you'll see here is I can sign in with a local account or sign in with a Microsoft account. This is the first version of Windows that you signed in with a Microsoft account, so that you could sync up things, download from the store, which is new, and we're looking at that. And so things like account history and all that were synced up as well. So I'm going to sign in with my Microsoft account, and then we're going to have a look at the operating system. Okay, now this was something that was new, was this little introduction video as you signed into Windows for the first time. I don't even think you could skip it, because they had to show you what had changed, because you've got the charms and the new sort of the new look for Windows 8. So it was quite a shock to the system coming from Windows 7. So here we are, Windows 8 up and running. And of course, if you're coming from Windows 7 with the start menu, not familiar to my host machine, the Windows 10 machine with the old start menu, this is a real shock to the system, because this is what you get presented first. You've got the live tiles, which was new, so these update and rotate around and give you like news, like you see like on that one does. If you've got photos, it starts to go through your photos. But this, you don't get presented with a desktop. This is what you get, this full screen experience. No start menu, no start button at all. Probably one of the most irritating things is there's no actual start button. You can move your mouse down here and you get the start button. Because if I go back to the desktop like this, and then I move my mouse down there, you get the start menu, which, see, already made a mistake, there you go. So for desktop users, of course, you could just jump back in that way, but it was definitely a big shock to the system when you were using Windows 7. The other thing you had as well is something called charms, which again is a bit of a mouse movement around. You move it over there, and you've got these buttons. It works quite well on a touchscreen, because you could swipe in from the right, and I don't even. I can't do that. I'm using a Surface laptop to record this video. I can't get it to initiate on there. But yeah, that was the idea, and it worked. Like I said, it worked great on a touchscreen. So you had this here where you got the charms bar, something that was new to this, and you had these were what were called charms. So you had search, start, which takes you back to start button, share, devices, and settings. So search was like a universal search, so it would search through apps, and you could also search for settings or search for files, and it was all built in this user interface. Again, worked really well on a touch screen. In fact, I'm going to do another video, record this on the Surface RT. I'll actually show you what it was like on a real tablet. I'll do that another time. But anyway, so that was search that was built into it. So you think in Windows 10 now, you just search down here in the bottom. In Windows 8, you had to go and launch it up through there. The other thing was the share charm. Again, you can see how this is tablet friendly, nice big buttons. You could share things. So if you were in an email or a picture or something like that, let's find something to share. So you see, to get back to the start, I go like that. Let's see if we can find something to share. Go to the share charm, and I can then share this in SkyDrive or Mail. So this was the thing that Windows 8 introduced, was some of these built-in apps that were new. The new Mail app. So this replaced the old Windows Live Mail or the Windows Mail application, and SkyDrive. So I could then share this through the built-in Mail app. And like I said, these were one of the things that was new, the apps. I'll come back to apps in a minute. Let's have a look at the rest of the charms. So with the devices one, you could send things to devices like a printer or a shared or a second screen, that kind of thing. I think you could do mirrorcast, so you could actually display the screen, project the screen to another device if you got one connected. And then you had settings. Settings had quite a bit of a change on this machine. So you've got it's kind of like an early version of Action Center. You've got Windows 10, so you've got your things like your keyboard, your power. This is how you could get to the power button as well. If you notice, there's no power button here visible anywhere. So if you wanted to reboot your machine, you had to go through to the charms, fiddle about with the mice or the mouse pointer, get it onto there, get to power. There are some other ways, but that was the way that sort of Microsoft pointed you to do it. And then if you went into here, you could actually change your settings. So this is the first of Microsoft take modern settings. Control panel is still here. All the items are still in there, as they are in Windows 10. This is the first time we had this unified sort of settings screen like this away from control panel. And you could control things like home group, which is still there, which was in previous Windows 7. And Vista introduced that. Great for sharing content between devices, something that's gone now. And you had this option of syncing some settings. Even some of this isn't available in Windows 10, but you could sync your colours and your personalisation in your taskbar and that kind of thing. And of course you had Windows Update, so I bet there's a lot of updates on this. So this is where you could, all your Windows updates were done in one place as opposed to where they were in the sort of control panel through Vista. See, there's no minimize button on this here as well, because you don't minimize the applications, you switch back that way. So how did you do things like side by side? Let's have a look at some of these apps. So Internet Explorer 10, and the same engine as the desktop version, which I had slightly earlier, and but with the taskbar moved down to here at the bottom, because this is the Metro interface. I should have mentioned that earlier. So this is the Metro interface, and you've got that option down here. So you could go to the desktop version as well if you wanted to. So the desktop version of IE was still there, but this is the full screen Metro version. Again, great for tablets, not so good for desktops. Now, what if you wanted to side by side on this? And I think I can do this through here. Again, so before I mentioned the snap feature, getting two screens side by side, I couldn't remember how to get it working. That's because I was doing it right, but the resolution needs to be higher than 1280 by 786. So I've changed the resolution on my virtual machine here. So I can get that to one side like that, and so I can set that side to like that, and then I think I can pick another window, and there we go, and that's split it. So it was dependent on your screen resolution, that's why it didn't work for me before. And I think you could actually increase and decrease this like that. Alright, it looks like you've got, yeah, the left or right. So it's not very flexible windowing with the modern applications that you had in the previous versions of Windows. Of course, if you flick back to the desktop, with desktop compatible apps, you could do what you want with them, just like you could with previous versions of Windows, and it still kept that sidebar on here of that other application. I can drag that out, and I think you could do it top to bottom as well, if I remember rightly. I think you can even do it with the desktop. Let's have a look. No, I'm not doing. Isn't working top to bottom, but it did do on a tablet, I think, when you rotated it into landscape or portrait mode. Yeah, a bit weird having the desktop like that, isn't it? You had this, which you still got in Windows 10, which was a way of getting to the command prompt and other things like that through window mode. So Windows 8 under the hood stuff was fantastic, great evolution from Windows 7. On a tablet PC, it worked really well. Really nice UI for finger control on touch screens. So on a Surface RT or any touch device, it worked brilliant. On a desktop, it was very frustrating. You had to go back to the desktop through that single screen. So you could have multiple applications open, and then the only way to switch them through was to use that task switcher here, which is that weird task switching through this, and then going back to the desktop where you saw all your desktop applications running. So they weren't part of this task switch either. So it was really that kind of hybrid system that didn't work very well. But like I said, on touch devices it worked brilliantly. Microsoft improved that with Windows 8.1, which we'll come back to on a future video. But yeah, at the time I really liked Windows 8 because I was using it on a touchscreen. For desktop users it was frustrating to use, and that's why many people went straight from 7 to 10, and that's why the 10 became what it is with the start menu as we know it now. You can see the evolution really. Okay, so thanks for watching this video. Any questions you can find them over at untitled.com and at iStixon on Twitter.